Hello, my name is Michele O'Dwyer and I work at the Department of Management and Marketing in the University of Limerick. And I'd like to talk to you today about the F word. This F word frightens businesses so much that they're actually being paralysed. They're afraid of making decisions that will result in failure. What they do is they revert to type. What worked last time that was successful, they go back, they look at that and they repeat it. So fear is stopping them making any change. The difficulty with that is that the future is not the same as the past. The future isn't based on replicating exactly what has gone before, it will always be different. And when we've got businesses who try to do more of the same, that limits their success and increases their risk of failure. But when I look at failure and I look at businesses internationally, some of the most interesting and successful businesses today have had great relationships with failure. If we look at Apple, for example, they're a fantastic example of how a company has embraced failure and used it so positively in moving forward. Their entire life cycle is spent succeeding and failing, almost in alternate waves. But what they've taken from it, they've learned some really valuable lessons. The lessons they've learned is, identify what you're doing right and do more of it. Quite sensible. Find out what you've done wrong when you failed, and then solve the problem and go again. And they've learned strongly from that. Lego is another company I really enjoy. I spent a lot of time as a child playing with Lego, and almost every household that I ever played in had Lego. And yet Lego seemed to disappear off our shelves, our toy shelves, in about the late 1990s and early 2000s. What happened was, Lego hadn't become fashionable. Other electronic toys had, there were other more exciting innovations, and Lego got frightened, and they became a Me Too company that tried to follow all these innovations, and they lost their way. The lesson that Lego learned was very simple. You can have a product which is still strong and still relevant to your audience, but your audience may just not know it. So when Lego started to communicate with their audience again, they could reposition the product. And now if you walk into any toy shop, you'll see Lego all over the shelves. Not only in its physical product, but in Wii games, in books, they're strongly successful. And another company I really love to see is actually Rovio Entertainment. They gave us Angry Birds, one of the most successful products that we've seen in the last decades, definitely. But it was Rovio's 52nd attempt to develop a successful product. And what did they do? They developed something that was weird, quirky, but very addictive and extremely profitable. It was brilliant. And that's the lesson they learned from their failure. First of all, you need to have a brilliant product, yes, without a doubt. But they also said you need luck. It's just sheer luck at times that can bring all the elements together at the right time to help your product be successful. So what do we learn from these really successful and interesting companies? If you look at the type of people that they hire, they're really no different to the type of people in your organisation or in mine. The difference really is that they have two special types of people there. The first type of people are translators, and the second are what I call Tshape people. The translators are the people who are the action-based people. They take the product concept or the service concept from maybe just a few words or a picture, and they take it from this really empty idea and move it right through the business until it's the finished product or service that can be bought by the customer. They're really important in any organisation. And the second one then are T-shaped people. And they're called that because they have one main area of specialism, which can be anything. It can be accountancy, it can be science, it can be engineering. And on top of that, they've got 2 or 3 other areas that they're either really good at or very interested in. And this T-shape pulls in many strands of the organisation, which means we have a lot of expertise being pulled together by one person who can manage a project. They're critically important. So have a look in your organisation for those 2 types of people. But even with those people, sometimes, yes, products and services and businesses can be looking at failure or else can fail. So what 5 things could you do to help get over and get through failure? And the first one is, you've got to look at success differently. Winston Churchill had a great viewpoint of success. He said that the success is not final and failure is not fatal. That's really important. Everybody will recover from a failure. So you've got to see success as a journey. And all along the way you'll become less successful at times, sometimes you'll fail, but you can pick yourself back up again and keep going. The second thing you need to remember is just that, keep going. Try and try again, stay motivated. If you've failed, it may not be that there's something wrong with the product or service or the business. It may be that the timing is wrong. Try again. It may be that the audience isn't right. Try a different one. It may be that the product or service needs to be tweaked in some way, in which case, try again. But you do need to stay motivated. The third thing that I need you to remember is that it's not enough to be popular. You have to make sure that your product or service or your business is profitable. So you need to know who your customers are, and you need to make sure that you understand your figures and you manage them properly. The fourth thing is a little uncomfortable. You need to be creative. You need to be innovative, which means stepping outside of your comfort zone. For most of us, it's much easier to stay within our comfort zone, to keep doing what we've done before. So for this, to be successful, to fight against failure, you really do need to be creative. And the final thing is one that most of us don't do naturally either. The fifth item is to think long term. I mean 10 or 20 years down the line. And when you've got a vision of where your company or your product or service will be, you need building blocks to get you to that point. The thing to bear in mind is that failure is not fatal. You can survive it, you can overcome it, you can manage the process very carefully. As Henry Ford very eloquently said, failure is simply the opportunity to begin again, but this time more intelligently. If you'd like to learn more about anything that I've discussed today, please do feel free to contact either myself or any member of the team at the Chemie Business School in the University of Limerick.